Hey everybody, shalom and welcome to Religion Wing TV. In this edition, this episode of the Morning Read, episode 114. Now today we're going to read Job chapter 38, Job chapter 39, and Job chapter 40, right? In this edition. And we have two more chapters to read, chapter 41 and 42, and we'll close out the book of Job, okay? On episode 115, which will come right after this. Now, thank you for those who have just tuned into Religion Wing TV, just heard about us. Thank you for subscribing, liking, sharing, and being a part of the morning read. Now, we know some people like to get up and read people to filth, but we love to get up and read people to life. That's life more abundantly, because according to John 14 and 6, Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, and except a man come through him, he cannot enter, or she cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. So with that being said, we know also if you put on the mind of Christ, the mind that's in him, let it also be in you, as the word says. Let the mind that be in him also be in you. And if you have the mind of Christ on, believe you me, you do not and will not desire to live for the devil. So we're going to get right into this read, and I'm trying something different here. I'm going to read to you through my phone. You can see my finger. Yeah, I didn't get my nails done. I need to get my nails done. But I'm not vain like that. I'm happy being with God. Vanity is trying to be happy apart from God. See, back then when my ancestors was in this good book, and when they were being written about and inspired by God to be written about, they weren't putting on any nails. Believe you me. So I'm not like the rest of the world. I'm not caught up in vanity and vain things. Although I like to look good and have nice things around me, when my nails need to be filled, it's not like a do or die situation. Like I can come on camera with needing a fill versus not wanting to show my hands or come on camera at all because my nails aren't done or my hair isn't done, or today is laundry day and my good clothes. You know, I'm just making an example here because I can go all year long without repeating anything. Probably my underwear and bras. But other than that, I probably have 365 pairs of shoes, if not more. I probably have 365 days worth of dresses, shirts, and pants, and skirts, and shorts, and leggings, and things like that I don't have to repeat myself. So, and probably an outdoor jacket to go with it, or a cover-up sweater, shawl, scarf, whatever. You guys get the picture, right? It's not about what I have. It's about what Job lost. It's about what the enemy went to Job to say, hey, God, look, since he's so upright and blameless before you, which is translated perfect, that blameless, let boils come upon him. Let him lose his family. Let him lose his cattle. Let him lose all that he has, land and all. And see if he don't curse you to your face. Now, this is Satan talking to the Most High God. So, I want you to see here in verse... So, let me just backtrack. Job went on this long rant right up until the last episode. Episode 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. Let me double check that, people. I do not want to misspeak. It was basically 34, 35, 36, 37. Like I said, by the grace of God, I am not here to deceive you people, but sometimes I misspeak, or I'm trying to speak so fast, I overspeak myself, or don't finish what I was meaning, saying, or say it messed up sometimes. But you guys know what I mean. I'm not over here deceiving you with false hope, information, lies, deception, manipulation, or any of that. So in this last episode, 113, Job, right up until chapter 37, he's going on and on and on about, woe is me, what is this, how come, blah, 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 blah. So now, from chapter 1, chapter 2, in the very beginning of the book of Job, we hear God speak to Satan. But pretty much this whole conversation has been between Job and his 3 friends, Zophar, Bildad, and Eliphaz. And then Eliyahu gets sick and tired of hearing Job, be very condescending in his talk, that he steps in and he's like, I'm angry, I'm pissed off now, Job, listen. And then finally we see here in chapter 38, the Lord is going to answer Job out of a whirlwind and say, so we're going to get right into chapter 38, verse 1, and we have 41 verses to go. Let's read. Then the Lord answered Job out of a whirlwind and said, 2, who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? See, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of all knowledge, or knowledge is the beginning of the fear of the Lord. Either way you want to say it, people. When you begin to fear God is when you begin to speak with knowledge. And Job is a man of knowledge, but in losing everything he had, he threw his knowledge just like his caution to the wind and went to and fro with his attitude and his personality and his character. Although he stay integral with God, he does a lot of lashing out and gnashing out and talking from his heart, from his tongue, darkness. Like he said at one point, I should have been dead from my mother's womb if the Lord is gonna let me to grow up to be an old man and have all this stuff and then allow it to be taken away. I'd rather be dead, kind of stuff he was going on saying. So we're going to see now God in verse 2, he know who it is, but see, God wants you to know who you are and what you are saying and what you are doing at this particular time. Just like in the Garden of Eden, God said, Adam, where art thou? Adam was hiding in the fig leaves and the fig trees. Adam, where art thou? He knew where Adam was. God knows where you are in your life and what you need before you even pray for it or before you even ask him. Because Christ says in the book of Matthew, God knows what you're in need of before you even open up your mouth and ask or request or put a petition in the air. Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? So you can give out counsel, you can give out advice, but there's some people like Job who is darkening counsel by words without knowledge. See, there's a lot of words on YouTube, but is it with knowledge? So 5%ers, they used to be like knowledge, power, cipher, understanding. I forget my mathematics a little bit, but when I was 18, I used to be able to recite it, but that was not me. A part of it still is me. You understand what I'm saying? But having a personal relationship with the Most High God, Yahweh, my Creator, being in tune with the universe and myself, I've become more of me than any of you could ever be me. Because this is what God teaches me to be, the best version of me, which is Him in the earth, living out His will. So we're going to get on over here because God says in verse 3, gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee and answer thou me. I will question thee and answer thou me. All right, Job, God's about to have a dialogue with you. This is not a monologue. This is going to be a dialogue. God wants you. For some reason, it stopped recording, but I'm going to keep on going. We're 10 minutes and 18 seconds in, it looks like. God wants you to respond. Verse 4. Where was thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Where were you at, Jobs of the world, when God laid down the foundations? Did you create mankind? Did you lay the foundations? Did you part the waters? Did you separate the firmament? Did you separate light from darkness? Wet from dryness? Did you, on the sixth day, say, it is finished, and rest? See, we got too many gods in the world. Too many Jobs out here questioning God and ranting and raving about why we lose some things in the world, mad at God because of the loss. But God is only trying to test your faith, just like God gave you 4 sons, Job, and 3 daughters, and 7,000 cattle and asses and she-asses, and take it from you, because even Job says in one account, yea, though he slay me, I will still trust him. That's right. You may rant and rave, but you better throw in there some kind of way. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Yea, though he slay me, I will still trust who? The Lord. Not your mother, your father, your boss, your worker, your spouse, none of that. Your finances, trust in the Most High God. When you begin to lose, even when you gain, trust in the Most High God. But definitely when you begin to lose, keep your trust in Him. So then it goes on to say, guys, 5. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest, or hath stretched the line upon it? 6. Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Who fastened the earth, the planets, the stars in the skies, without any imaginary lines running through them, without any bolts and screws, without any, the solar systems we see in college and in school and in science class, where they are fastened by man. They are fastened by steel and metal and screws and bolts. But the world we live in, this earth, is fastened to what? Does not God have the whole world in His hands? Okay, so let me go ahead and take this out a little bit. It says something about recording video. Excuse me, guys. So now it goes on to say, 7. When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy, where were you at? 8. Or who shut up the sea with the doors when it brake forth, as if it had issued out of the womb? 9. When I made the cloud, the garment thereof, and thick darkness of swaddling band for it. See, God is letting him know, when I made the cloud, He's not questioning himself anymore here, Jobs. He's letting you know exactly who he is and who she is, or who the feminine energy and male energy of this God is, okay? So, Yahweh is letting you know that when he made the cloud, the garment thereof, and thick darkness of swaddling for it, 10, and break up for it my decreed place, and set bars and doors. All right. 11, and said, hitherto shalt thou come, but no further, and here shall thy proud waves be stayed. Excuse me. 12. Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days, and caused thy day spring to know his place? Now, dawn, day spring, there's a network called Dayspring. TBN is Dayspring with Joan and Joni and Mr. Lamb, I guess. I forget his name. But also, I believe Jesus is called the Dayspring, the Morning Star. There's a lot of names for him I have in a concordance, and I'll go through that with you in one video. So then it goes on to say here, guys, 13, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might be shaken out of it. 14, it is turned as clay to the seal, and they stand as a garment. 15, and from the wicked their light is withholden, and the high arm shall be broken. 16, hast thou entered into the springs of the sea, or hast thou walked in the search of the depth? 17, have the gates of the depth been open unto thee, or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of the death? 18, hast thou perceived the breadth of the earth? Declare it if thou knowest it all. Declare it if you know it all, people. 19, where is the way where light dwelleth? And as for darkness, where is the place thereof? 20, that thou shouldest take it to the bound thereof, and that thou, let's go over here, shouldest know the paths to the house thereof. Verse 21, knowest thou it because thou hast then born, or because the number of thy days is great? 22, hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow, or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail? 23, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war. And I told you guys, right here, Job 38, go to 38, verse 23, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war. Back to 22, or hast thou seen the treasures of the hell? 23, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war. And I told you guys, God was at war with Russia when those hailstorms went over there, the size of your head. It was some hail that fell from heaven. That was war and battle and trouble against Russia. It was right along when they were intermeddling with the American government, politics, and election. Do the research, people. 25. Who hath divided watercourse for the overflowing of waters, or a way for the lightning of thunder? Yesterday, lightning and thunder came and knocked out half my city. I was without power for about maybe 4 hours. 26. To cause it to rain on the earth where no man is, on the wilderness wherein there is no man. 27. To satisfy the desolate and waste ground, and to cause the bud of the tender herb to spring forth. 28. Hath the rain a father? Or who hath begotten the drops of dew? Does the rain have a father? The Lord is asking Job some very intellectual questions right now. 29. Out of whose womb came the ice, and the hoary frost of heaven? Who hath gendered it? Male or female? 30. The waters are hid as with a stone, and the face of the deep is frozen. So we're going right down to 31, you guys. Canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? Orion. You know that's a constellation in the sky. 32. Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season, and canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons? 33. Knowest thou the ordinance of heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth, as it is in heaven, on earth as it is in heaven? God is asking you questions here, people. 34. Canst thou lift up thy voice to the clouds, that abundance of water may cover thee? Can you do what Elijah did and said, make the rain stop for 3 years, I think it was, and then it came back again? Can you do what Elijah did when he said, Lord, make the waters rain from heaven and wet up all of this altar and everything on it, and then send fire down to consume it and everything burnt up? Can you bring those kind of waters down from heaven? Martin Luther King says, judgment will fall from heaven like rain. Come on, somebody. Tie this word together now. So it goes on to say, 35, canst thou send lightnings that they may go and say unto thee, here we are? I know Christ did. He said, I beheld Satan like lightning, and he fell from heaven. Godspeed, in the twinkling of an eye. Do you know this word? Do you know the Most High God? Are you full of knowledge today? Are you fearing the Lord, people? Are you reading the Bible so that you don't get caught up and be ignorant of Satan's devices, lest he gains advantage on you? That's biblical too. Be not ignorant of Satan's devices. Satan uses Christmas and holidays and Easter and paganism and witchcraft and seditions and hearsays and rivalries and wraths and strifes and fornications and all kinds of things to deceive you with, people. Drugs, lies, voices you thought you hear talking about you when ain't nobody talking about you. Imaginations, wicked minds, wicked thoughts, wicked negativity, evil. Come on, people. 36. Who hath put wisdom in the inward parts, or who hath given understanding to the heart, to the mind? 37. Who can number, let's go, the clouds in wisdom, or who can stay the bottles of heaven? 38. When the dust groweth into hardness, and the clods cleave fast together. 39. Wilt thou hunt the prey for the lion, or fill the appetite of the young lions? 40. When they couched in their dens, and abide in their covert to lie in wait. That's crouch, lurk in their lairs. 41. Who provideth for the raven his food, when his young ones cry unto God? They wonder for lack of meat. That ends the reading of verse chapter 38. We're going right into 39. And let's keep this conversation going. You're watching Religion Wing TV, and my spiritual ear. Stay. I'm your host, Spirituality, and my spiritual ear. Stay. All right, verse chapter 39. So let's get there. Knowing thou the time when the wild goats of the rock bring forth, or canst thou mark when the hinds do calve, do have babies? 22. Canst thou number the months that they fulfill, or knowest thou the time when they bring forth? 33. They bow themselves, they bring forth their young ones, they cast out their sorrows, for their young ones are in good liking, they grow up with corn, they go forth and return not unto them. 5. Who hath sent out the wild ass free, or who hath loosed the bands of the wild ass? It's Anagar. 6. Whose house I have made the wilderness, and the barren land his dwelling. 7. He scorneth the multitude of the city, neither regardeth he the crying of the driver. Translated, tumults and shouts. So if you were to go back to multitudes, it's tumults. Yeah. Crying is shouts. I'm just giving you a translation of verse 7. You can check it out for yourself. Wherever you see T for multitudes, the first word is tumult. And wherever you see T for crying, that's shouts. So 8, the range of the mountains in his pasture, and he searches after every green thing. Genesis 1:29. Every green herb bearing his own seed is given to you for meat. And part of the Bible said, he who eat the herbs is weak. So you gotta be careful with that, people. I've explained it to you so many times before. Verse 9, will the unicorn be willing to serve thee, or abide by thy crib? 10, canst thou bind the unicorn with his bands in the furrow, wild ox band in the furrow, or will the harrow the valleys after thee? 11, wilt thou trust him because his strength is great, or wilt thou leave thy labor to him? 12, wilt thou believe him that he will bring home thy seed, thy grain, and gather it into thy barn? Will you believe this unicorn will do that, or do you think the unicorn will eat it unattended? God will bring your seed home to your barn. Remember, he's barn. He said, blessed going in, blessed going out, blessed in the storehouse, blessed in the country, blessed in your cattle, your kine, your womb, your fruit of your womb, all of that, right? So 13, that's Deuteronomy chapter 1 through 14. Gavest thou the goodly wings unto the peacocks? Or, let's go ahead and flip the page. Go over here. Wings and feathers unto the one rich. 14. Which leaveth her eggs in the earth, and warmeth them in dust. 15. And forgetteth that the foot may crush them, or that the wild beast may break them, trample them. That's right. Will you store your eggs there? Will you store your treasures there? Will you store your babies there? Did God have you store your babies there? No. He let your baby come through your womb, not be hidden in the eggs, like in the sand and in the, wilderness, or other creatures of God's creation lay their eggs. Your eggs are different. So it goes on to say, 16, she is hardened against her young ones as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without fear. Lamentations 4:3, you can find that. Because God hath deprived her of wisdom, neither hath he imparted to her understanding. 18, now when I used to read scripture like this, I'm like, oh Lord, he's talking directly to me. And you may be feeling that same way. But there's people out here, I'm telling you, that God is speaking directly to. And if you have not repented or asked God for forgiveness, then he may very well be talking to you. So it goes on to say, 18, what time she lifteth up herself on high, she scorneth the horse and his rider. 19, hast thou given the horse strength? Hast thou clothed his neck with thunder? 20, canst thou make him afraid as a grasshopper? The glory of his nostrils is terrible. Now, translated, afraid, spring in fear. So let's go to 21. He pauseth in the valley and rejoiceth in his strength, and he goeth on to meet the armed men. 22. He mocketh at fear, and is not affrighted. Neither turneth he back from the sword. 23, you all. He swalloweth, the quiver rattleth against him, the glittering spear and the shield, the javelin. 24, he swalloweth the gird with fierceness and rage, neither believeth he that it is the sound of the trumpet. I just want to pause and go back to javelin. That's what Saul was trying to use to kill David, King David, elect when we read the account of King David and Saul. So 25, he saith among the trumpets, ha ha, he smelleth in battle afar off, the thunder of the captains and the shouting. 26, doth the hawk fly by his wisdom and stretch her wings toward the south? That's a question. 27, doth the eagle mount up at thy command and make her nest on high? Yes. 28, she dwelleth and abideth on the rock, upon the crag of the rock, and the strong place. 29, from thence she seeketh the prey, and her eyes behold afar off. 30, in the last verse of 39, her young ones also suck up blood, and where the slain are, there is she. You can find this in Matthew 24 and 28 and Luke 17 and 31. Let's go ahead and complete chapter 40. And we're going right into it. You're watching Religion Wink TV. I'm your host, Spirituality, and my spiritual ears say. And it looks like we have 24 verses to go, you all. Moreover, the Lord answered Job and said, and you can see cross-reference right here. We just read it, right? 38 and 1. If you go back to Job 38 and 1. And then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said. So I love this Bible because it's cross-reference. So chapter 40 verse 1. Moreover, the Lord answered Job and said, shall he that contendeth with the Almighty instruct him? Should God instruct you how to fight him? Shall he that contendeth with the Almighty instruct him? He that reproveth God, let him answer it. 3. Then Job answered the Lord and said, 4. Behold, I am vile. What shall I answer thee? I will lay my hand upon my mouth. 5. Once I have spoken, but I will not answer. Yea, twice, but I will proceed no further. 6. Then answered the Lord unto Job out of the whirlwind and said, 7. Gird up thy loins now like a man. See, because Job was not acting like a man in the eyes of God. See, a lot of you men think you out there acting like real men because you making babies and having sex all over the place with any and everybody. But there's a man that God wants you to stand up and be tonight. He wants you to gird your loins. Remember, they put the belt of truth on to gird your loins. But he's telling Job, suck it up, man. Stop being a wimp here. And I always tell people that Jesus and the Messiah, this Yeshua, I know is not a punk. So all these weak, sissy-ass Christians out here whining and stuff, be a man, be a woman in the eyes of God. Don't just say it in church. I'm a man of God. I'm a woman of God. No, God said, gird your loins tonight, this day. Hearken unto the voice of God. 7. Gird up thy loins now like a man. I will demand of thee and declare thou unto me. I will ask you questions and answer me. We read that earlier. 8. Wilt thou also disannul my judgment? Disannul, my judgment. Wilt thou condemn me that thou mayest be righteous? You think you're going to condemn God and be righteous? 9. Hast thou an arm like God, or canst thou thunder a voice like him? Can you thunder a voice like God? Do you have the long arm of the Lord like God, Jobs of the world? 10. Deck thyself now with majesty and excellency, and array thyself with glory and beauty. This is the kind of man God is looking for. A woman, and a man who will deck themselves with majesty, excellency, and array themselves with glory and beauty. See, you got a lot of manipulation, a lot of evil, and people are arraying themselves with the glory of wickedness and the beauty of unrighteousness. So let's keep reading. 11. Cast abroad the rage of thy wrath, and behold everyone that is proud, and abase him, humble him. 12. Look on everyone that is proud, and bring him low, and tread down the wicked in their place. 13. Hide them in the dust together, and bind their face in secret. 14. Then will I also confess unto thee that mine own right hand can save thee. 15. Behold now, Behemoth which I made with thee, he eateth grass as an ox. 16. Lo now his strength is in his loins, and his force is in the navel of his belly. That's the stomach, the muscles, the core center of a man. 17. He moveth his tail like a cedar, the sinews of his stones are wrapped together, his thighs are wrapped together. 18. His bones are as strong pieces of bronze. His bones, excuse me guys, his bones are like bars of iron. 19. He is the chief of the ways of God. He that made him can make his sword to approach unto him. 20. Surely the mountains bring, let's go ahead and get this, him for food, where all the beasts of the field play. We're going to get into the book of Psalms shortly, you guys. 21. He lieth under the shady trees in the covert of the reed and fens. That's, okay, so if you go 21, he lieth under the shady would be lotus trees. In the covert of the reed and fens would be marsh. 22. Now this is Greek people translating out a Hebrew Bible, you all. So you're not getting the real translation of it all. I can take you to the book of Son of Sirach, and it says when you try to translate out Hebrew, you do not translate it out correctly. So when I read this Bible, I tell you guys that I do not play with it and believe everything it is and that there is to do. So verse 21, he lieth under the shady trees in covert of the reed and fens. 22, the shady trees cover him with their shadow. The willows of the brook compass him about. 23, behold, he drinketh up a river and hasteth not. He trusteth that he can draw up Jordan into his mouth. 24, he taketh it with his eyes. His nose pierces through snares. And this ends the read of episode 114. Guys, I'll catch you on the next upload, premiere, and or live. Someone just rung my doorbell, and I will chat with you in about 10 or 15 minutes. Shalom.